Welcome everyone. My name is Tasha Schall and I'm a solution engineer with Esri's National Government Team. And today I have the privilege of welcoming you to our session called Transforming Your Public Works with Location Intelligence. In just a few moments, I'll hand it over to today's presenters. But first, I'd like to cover three important aspects of today's presentation. So on the left side of your screen, you're going to see an example of how to use the chat window to submit questions. You can type in your questions at any time during our presentation. We will answer as many questions as we have time for at the end, but those which we run out of time to address, they'll be sent to you today, and that means all of today's registered participants through email. On the right side of your screen, you'll see an example of a polling window. We'll present two polls during our presentation, and we ask that you click on the radio button that corresponds to your answer. We'll give everybody a moment to respond and then share the results of the poll. The final piece of information is that this presentation will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be emailed to all the registered attendees in just a few days. So now it's time for our first poll. Okay, so our first question is as follows. Is your organization currently using GIS to help manage your public works, such as road inventory or road maintenance, capital improvements, or public events? Go ahead and take a moment and click either yes or no in the polling response, and we'll give you just a moment for everyone to register their answer, and then I'll go ahead and close the poll and you'll see your results. 1 or 2 more seconds to let the final folks register their answers. Okay, so we'll close it and share the results. So it looks like, this is interesting, it looks like it's an even 50-50 split with almost everybody answering. But a couple of notes on that. So for those of you that are currently using GIS in public works, that's fantastic, and I'm certain that today's presentation is going to spark some more ideas on how to get GIS into additional facets of your work. And for those of you who have not implemented GIS in public works, we hope you're going to come away from the presentation with an understanding of the benefits GIS can provide when it's integrated into your workflows. So thank you very much for your insight and your responses. So now it's time to introduce our first presenter, Shelby Hines. And we'll hand the floor over to Shelby.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining the webinar this morning. We appreciate you taking the time. My name is Shelby Hines, and I work on the local government team as a technical resource for customers out of the Denver, Colorado Esri office. I'm happy to join the webinar today. What I'm going to be doing for the next 30 or 40 minutes is first going through a set of, I believe I have 10 slides to sort of lay the groundwork on the topic that we're talking about and make sure we're all on the same page. And then what I'll do is I'll pop open a few browser tabs and demo some live applications, web applications, show you some resources, and show you some other tools in ArcGIS Pro that hopefully you'll be able to leverage. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's dive right in with typical or common goals and challenges of a public works department. So a public works organization is looking for ways, right, to better manage community assets and maximize their life in the most efficient way as possible. And with that comes many challenges. I know that you're faced with aging infrastructure and limited funding for repairs and rising costs of improvement. As well, a challenge is population growth. And as population continues to grow, it's stressing that infrastructure, right, and those services. Another goal to more efficiently manage field operations. So to improve productivity of staff conducting data collection or inspections in the field. And so we're really talking about replacing pen and paper workflows here, and ensuring more timely and accurate information is shared between the field and the office. and then to maximize the dollars spent on projects by prioritizing repairs to existing infrastructure or the addition of new capital projects. And we know that departments are facing pressure to be transparent about how money is spent. And then the final goal, to increase transparency and quality of service to citizens. So GIS and ArcGIS is an enabling technology that can support public works departments and help in attaining these goals. Esri has worked hand in hand with customers like yourselves to understand these goals and challenges, and has built solutions to support these typical workflows, or support the typical workflows surrounding these goals. So ArcGIS is a location platform, right, that supports the patterns that you see on this slide, or the core capabilities, oftentimes that are common to public works workflows. So I'm going to talk through not all of these, but some of these patterns, and tie them back to the goals that we just discussed. So starting on the upper left, mapping and visualization. So visualizing your location data. Seeing it on a map in your desktop GIS, or in a hard copy map, or in a web map. Data management is the collection and organization and maintenance of the data. So you can use ArcGIS to be your system of record, to manage your asset inventories or your road network, your right-of-way assets, whether that's streets, signs or street lights, maybe to manage your construction activity. And along this theme of data management, an important fundamental concept across the ArcGIS platform is that your data set becomes your authoritative data that project managers and staff and field workers and maybe the public are all referring to, so that you're working off the same data set. And then field mobility, we touched on that on the last slide. The ability to access data and GIS capabilities in the field, to collect data for an inventory, or to support an inspection or a maintenance workflow. Jumping down to decision support. So this really refers to the operational awareness of a workflow. So ArcGIS provides the ability to visualize status of, say, an inspection workflow. We have an app called Operations Dashboard that does just that and can help support decision making about resource allocation, problem areas, etc. Constituent engagement, so the pattern of making information available to other organizations, to departments within your organization, or to citizens, and in some cases even soliciting feedback from citizens. So in the case of public works, you can build a public-facing app, for example, to share ongoing capital improvement project work. And you can share a link of that app or embed it in a website. The end user would just need an internet connection and an internet browser. And then finally, sharing and collaboration. So the ability to share that authoritative data between departments of an organization, or even more broadly to other stakeholders or to the public. So this pattern of WebGIS that you'll hear me refer to several times through the presentation WebGIS creates a platform for sharing and collaboration. So much of the functionality that public works departments need from a mapping platform are core in ArcGIS capabilities. So let's kind of dive in and ask how are these patterns and capabilities achieved? Well, let's take a step back for a minute. Traditionally and historically, GIS is desktop based, right, and designed to handle data management and analysis. And that's not going anywhere. That will always be as important as it always has. But ArcGIS has really evolved and is now a broader, truly a platform, and now supports a pattern that we call WebGIS. So the cloud in the middle of this slide represents one of two things: either ArcGIS Online, which is software as a service, or Portal for ArcGIS, which is a software component that's installed in your own infrastructure. The two different products have an identical look and feel. Okay, so whether you decide to go with the software as a service route or with Portal for ArcGIS, which means you might be leveraging ArcGIS Enterprise. Like I said, they have an identical look and feel. That cloud component represented in the slide, and very similar functionality. From here on, I'm going to use the term portal to refer to either ArcGIS Online or Portal for ArcGIS. So what this slide depicts is supporting those public works goals that we talked about. So to achieve those goals, it's going to require a mix of data and workflows, information exchange, and people across operational areas in a public works department. So using WebGIS, your portal is where you organize everything. We're going to look at some apps today. All the apps are accessed through your portal. Data that exists as web services are an item in your portal. Your portal manages metadata and maps, as well as the people and identities that make up the members of your portal. So people log in to a portal with a named user, which is a set of credentials, a username and password, and that each person's named user has an identity associated with it. And by that I mean they have a role, and they have permissions tied to that role, and they have access to data and capabilities associated with them. There's a concept of groups in an ArcGIS portal, and a group is a way to connect people with content. So, for example, if you're collecting a sign inventory, asset inventory, you might create a sign inventory group. And the project manager and field staff are members of that group. And it's only those people that have access to the inventory data set and permissions to edit the data. So let's talk about apps. As an organization using the ArcGIS platform, you can make available focused maps and apps to meet specific needs. So you may have seen GIS apps, web apps, that have, say, huge lists of data and lots of capabilities and purposes, and sometimes I call that a kitchen sink app. Well, the trend anymore with the ArcGIS platform is that we're moving away from the kitchen sink app, and we're moving toward focused apps that meet a specific goal. So when we look at this slide, apps can provide the ability, well, before we dive in, I was going to mention apps provide the ability for users to access and use these information products from any device, like I said, as long as they have an internet connection. So on the slide, we see there are field apps, and we'll dive into those a little bit more in a minute here. We have apps for business or design planning, like Business Analyst and GeoPlanner. We have apps oriented to the public or a broader audience, viewers, the ability to bring in social media and story maps. These are all very clean and effective ways to share information. We have a product called Operations Dashboard, which, as I mentioned before, can help you monitor and track daily operations. I want to make you aware of a tool that we have called Web App Builder, which is exactly how it sounds. It is an app builder. Web App Builder is, like I said, is available through your portal. And it is a drag and drop builder experience. No development, no coding required. And what it enables you to do is to bring in widgets of functionality. So the widget might be a layer list or a measure widget, a query widget, or an edit widget. Or you can do simple analysis using Web App Builder. You can give it a look and feel, and you can give it your logo. So you can really design an app for your specific needs and for your organization. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you see kind of a simple how-to on building your first Web App Builder app. You create the app and pick a style. It's called a theme. And then you select the map. So in WebGIS, the web map is always a building block for the app. So in the map is where you add data layers and you give them symbology and you configure their pop-ups. And then you build an app on top of that map. And you can think of the app as almost a wrapper around the map that brings specific functionality to the end user. So the next step with Web App Builder is then you add widgets and you do some configuration and then you're ready to launch. Also want to talk about field mobility apps. These are apps that, with the exception of Navigator, every app on this slide is available with your portal, as long as you have a named user account. These are downloads onto your smartphone or tablet. And the beauty of field mobility with ArcGIS is that you're working off of one unified data set. So you're bringing data and capabilities into the field. Now that's the same data set that your staff back in the office are working off of. So again, that idea of the authoritative data set. You'll see oftentimes customers are improving or replacing paper-based workflows with these apps. And they're using them to collect and update information in the field. So starting from the left, Explorer is actually, it's a viewer, and it's a mobile viewer. It's a beautiful app. It's just been rebuilt from the ground up, and it has the capability called markup, which is really neat. You can kind of redline on top of a map, and those lines will be geo-referenced, and you can share them back to members of your portal or back to your portal. It's with the markup, you're not actually editing features in a feature layer. Again, it's basically graphics on top of the map, but it's a nice option to keep in mind. Workforce is an app that enables personnel to dispatch assignments out to field workers. So there are two parts to Workforce. One is a browser-based app that a project manager or the dispatcher might manage from the office, and they're dispatching assignments based on location to specific field workers, so to a specific named user that's a member of the portal. And then the second component is an actual field app where that field staff then acknowledges the assignment and presses start when they're going to go ahead and do the work, whether it's maintenance or an inspection or whatever it is. And then all the while, the personnel back in the office can actually see their location on the map. And then when that field worker is finished with the assignment, they click finish. And back in the office, you can see that they are now done with that project. Navigator is a tool that lets you navigate against your own roads. So if in Google Maps, for example, there are rural roads that aren't represented, then you can use your own road network to navigate against. You can also navigate against your own asset inventory. So for example, you could enter an asset ID and navigate directly to it. And then Collector and Survey 123 are the apps that enable data collection. And in the case of Collector, also enable editing of existing data. Collector is more map-based, where when you first launch the application, you'll see a map, and then you can collect from there, while Survey 123 is more form-based and supports smart forms. Both of them are super powerful and awesome. Another note about field apps is that with a few of the different field apps, you can integrate them with each other. So for example, with the Workforce app, if I were a field crew and I go to my to-do list in Workforce and I see that I need to collect assets in a particular area of my community, I can acknowledge that assignment and then click a button, and it will slide into the Collector app exactly where I need to be collecting that asset inventory. And then Workforce will be kind of flashing at the top of my device. And when I'm done with the assignment, I can go back to Workforce and finish it out. Okay, moving on. To take this a step further, as part of the ArcGIS platform, you have access to what we call solutions. And solutions are COTS capabilities, so commercial off-the-shelf capabilities that support key requirements of a local government or a tribal organization. These are organized by industry and include public works workflows. Like I said, solutions come as part of the ArcGIS platform. If you are using ArcGIS Desktop, which by that I'm referring to ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro, and you have a named user, so you have a login to your portal, then you have access to these solutions. These are ready-to-use configurations that you can leverage your own geographic data in. So you can think of them as a template or a starting point for getting going quickly with a workflow. And you can further configure the solutions from that starting point. Many of these are designed to be paired together to provide a complete solution, and you'll see some examples in a few minutes of what I'm talking about. Again, these solutions are part of the core ArcGIS platform. They are freely available, and they're supported through Esri standard technical support and part of the regular platform upgrade cycle. In terms of public works solutions, you can see that we have them broken into 3 categories here. And these represent the categories that the maps and apps are organized by. As informational products. On the engineering side, we see that you can analyze effective life of aging infrastructure and visualize proposed improvements. You can coordinate capital project investments and maximize public expenditures. On the operations side, you can maintain an authoritative inventory of public assets. You can reduce the cost of field operations for asset inventories and maintenance activities. Improve operational awareness when responding to a storm or a special event or incident. And you can increase transparency and accountability within the community. I'm going to flip to a slide that actually lists all of the solutions that we're talking about here. And I'm going to give you guys just a minute to kind of take a look at them. I'll show you where you can access these solutions. I'm not going to talk through every one of them right now, and I know this is a wordy slide, but I'll give you just a few more seconds here. And then I'm going to flip into okay, so first place I'm going to start with my demo is to show the solution site. So this is solutions.arcgis.com. And when I scroll down, the first major heading includes a suite of solutions for public works departments. And a lot of these are sort of categorized into these themes. And the first one I wanted to point out is called the Maintain Public Road Network. And the road network management solution is a configuration of ArcMap designed to manage roads and intersection data along with physical characteristics that are part of the network, and includes tools to support typical editing workflows. I'm going to click into the Learn More page of this solution. Each one of the solutions we're talking about has a page that looks like this, where it explains the intent of the solution, and then it goes on to describe the software requirements of the solution. In this case, it's ArcMap, and then also what you get. So you get an add-in called Attribute Assistant. You get a pre-configured MXD or map document, actually a couple of them, and then also a file geodatabase with some empty feature layers, or actually they have sample data in them that you would replace with your own data. Also at this page are step-by-step instructions on how to get started with a solution, as well as typical workflows that would be associated with that solution. Okay, I also wanted to point out while we're here is a suite of solutions to inventory your right-of-way assets. So these are configurations of the field apps that we talked about that are designed to collect asset inventories. And they include typical attribution, industry standard for these types of assets. So like I said, these are solutions that you can use to start from scratch, and you can build an asset inventory into a solution like this, or if you have existing data, you can plug your own data into the solution. If your attributes don't match those that are included in the solution, you can field map into the attributes, or you can configure the attributes of the solution. Okay, so now I'm going to click through some demos of these solutions. This first one is called road closures, and this would be used by operations staff to track roadblocks or closures and related detours. And so as an operations staff, I can open up this edit widget. And this is a configuration of Web App Builder. So when I described Web App Builder, when I was speaking to the slide deck, I talked about widgets. And these widgets along the top are Web App Builder widgets. So with this first widget has been configured to let me place a road closure, roadblock, or road detour on the map. So let's go ahead and do that. I will place one here on Old Plank Road. And then it asks me to fill in the attributes associated with this road closure. Oh boy, now I can't see what the road was called. I think it was Old Plank Road. We're doing some maintenance on the sewer network. We do need to close the road fully. I can also provide which direction we're going to close the road. I can provide a duration. I can have a start and end date. So let's start it today. I can also provide a time associated with the start and end, but I don't have to. These aren't required fields. And I'll end that closure in about a week from now. I can include my contact information, and I can go ahead and click Save. And there's my road closure shown up on the map. I can also add a roadblock just by grabbing that icon out of my edit widget and dropping the point on the map, and I can fill in similar type of attributes associated with that roadblock, and there it shows up on the map. What you can do then is you can share an app that looks similar to this one with the public if you want to make this information available to citizens. And you can create a different app that looks a whole lot like this one, but doesn't have the editing capability associated with it, but that is pointing back to that same authoritative data set. The next one I'm going to show, this is a gallery of apps that might be used by project leads to organize and prioritize new capital project plans, or to revise information about projects during the planning process. So I will open up, say, the stormwater project plan. And these are very simple web applications, again, designed to manage and share that information. So this also is a configuration of Web App Builder. And with the edit widget, I can grab this icon called Stormwater Drainage Projects and create a new project on my map. And then I can fill out the attributes associated with that project. I can also click on an existing project and edit attributes associated with that project. You can see that there are domains or drop-down lists built into the attributes of the project. And again, a start and end date, estimated cost, contact information. You can also attach an image to the feature on the map. Okay, next one I'm going to show is called the Capital Improvement Plan. And this is a configuration of a story map journal. You can see that we have an interactive map on the right. And this can be used by the general public or other parties to review maybe short range plans that identify capital improvement projects. So if I start at the top here, I can kind of scroll through this journal and explore the planned projects across my community. You can see on this left-hand panel that I can embed images. I can also embed videos and charts and graphs and as much text as I want. Okay, the next example I have, this is a configuration of operations dashboard, and this one is called the right-of-way permit dashboard. This can be used by public works executives or leadership to monitor the status of right-of-way permits in the community. We also have solutions that are, you can think of them as kind of companion or accompanying solutions to create a complete system. And those solutions enable contractors and property owners to actually apply for a permit. And we also have apps to manage and review those permits. And this might be considered kind of the end app that's providing a view of that workflow. So with Operations Dashboard on the left-hand side here, I can add in filters where we can filter by the status of the permit. And you can see that as I'm clicking on a filter, the rest of the elements in the dashboard are also filtering. I can filter by date, but in this case by relative date. You can see I have a chart on the bottom that shows permit type. I also have another chart in a different tab that is summarizing the submission date of the permit. And on the right-hand side, I have a list of the permits that will be sorted by time. And as I click on one of the permits, you can see that the map zooms and flashes to that permit feature on the map. Okay, the next solution I have to show is called My Neighborhood Services. And this one is designed also for the public to locate services that are near their house, okay? So I can come along as a member of the public and say, okay, I live out here in the northeast corner of town, and I'm interested to know within, this is a buffer that I can adjust. So I'm going to adjust this buffer to, I just changed it from 1 mile to a 2-mile buffer. And within that 2 miles, I can see that I have some community assets or services within that buffer. So I can see the closest hospital to my house. I can also configure this widget to route me to that hospital. I can see the fire stations that are within that buffer. And when I click into this specific fire station, in this example, fire station 1, it highlights that fire station on the map. And then from the point that I dropped on the map, which represented my home, now I have routing to that fire station. Okay, the next suite of solutions is called Citizen Problem Reporter. And this solution has 3 components to it, and I'll talk and demo through each of those 3 components. Citizen Problem Reporter is designed to enable the public to report problems, probably non-emergency problems, to their tribal organization or their local government. So I'm actually sitting in Broomfield, Colorado, which is why this map has zoomed to my location there. And what I'll do is I will submit a park or tree problem. It's going to bring me back to Broomfield here. And I can say submit a report. I select what type of problem it is. I can add my name. I can add a photo of the problem and some contact information. And then I simply drop a point on the map and I say report it. And I get a message that says, thank you for reporting this issue. We will be in touch soon. The companion app to Citizen Problem Reporter is called Citizen Problem Manager. And this one lets me manage and track the status of my reports coming in. So I just reported, okay, let's refresh this. I just reported a park or tree problem. And there it is, there's my limbs over path. Most of these points are in a different area, again, because I'm not physically sitting in that area. But when I click on that report that I just entered, I can see that feature on the map. And here on the bottom left, I have the ability to track the status of that report with some different attributes. Now, I want to make the point that this is pointing back to the same feature layer or the same data set as what was reported on the Citizen Problem Reporter side. But as the personnel back in the office, I can actually choose whether that point will be visible in the Reporter app. I can select who I've assigned that issue to. I can add some comments and track its status. The third component of this solution is a configuration of operations dashboard. So we're looking at park and tree problems right now. And again, operations dashboard is a way to visualize your data sets in different ways, oftentimes centered around a map. But on the right-hand side, you can see the list of reports coming in, and on the bottom, you can see a chart breaking down those reports by problem type. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop open ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS Pro is the modern desktop application. And if you have an ArcGIS desktop license, you have access to ArcGIS Pro. ArcMap is not going away anytime soon, but all of the development at Esri on the desktop side is going into Pro, and this is the future of ArcGIS Desktop. So if you haven't already started using ArcGIS Pro, I recommend that you do that. I'm going to point out under my Share tab of my ArcGIS Pro interface, I have a tool called the ArcGIS Solution Deployment Tool. And the Solution Deployment Tool is an add-on to Pro, so it's a download from the Esri website. And what it is a series of tasks to help you quickly deploy the solutions that we're talking about. The first task is to sign in to your ArcGIS organization. On the upper right of my Pro interface, you can see that I'm signed in this case, to an ArcGIS Online organization. Next step is to deploy a solution. After that is to configure and then to load data into the solution. So what I'm going to do now is actually navigate down to the solution that I want to deploy. And this tool will present a list of all those solutions that are available at solutions.arcgis.com. In this case, I'm going to deploy the sign inventory solution. So I'm going to go ahead and click deploy. And what this tool does is it publishes the web map and the empty feature layers, and it pulls any apps that are required to build the complete solution. So in another minute, I will go look at the content in my ArcGIS Online organization, and I will discover those items have been published to my organization. The next steps of the tool, like you saw, were to actually configure the solution. So that means from this Pro task, you can configure the fields that are associated with each feature layer. You can also configure the domains associated with the feature layer. And then that last task was related to loading data. So you can actually push your locally maintained data into the feature layer that now lives in ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to go back to the content of my ArcGIS Online organization. And now I see a web map and I see my polls feature layer. I'm going to refresh that again. And what I'll do next is I will open up this web map and do some simple configuration. And this solution is a collector solution. So bear with me here. I'm going to quickly mirror my phone onto my monitor. And I'm going to open Collector for ArcGIS. Collector, as we talked about, is a mobile field app that I've downloaded onto my phone. It's a simple client application that opens a web map and lets you edit and collect data. Okay, so in this web map on the left here, you can see I have two feature layers, a signs layer and a polls layer. In my collector app, I'm gonna click on the top button, which is collect a new feature. And I'm gonna first collect a new poll. So I have industry standard domains built into this layer. And in this case, I'm gonna collect a metal poll, you know, of a particular shape. I'm not gonna fill out all these fields. It's gonna be 10 feet high. And I installed it today. And then I'm gonna toggle back to the map with the map button at the top of my collector interface. And I'm gonna drop that point. And I'm gonna press submit on that point. And when I move the map a little bit, you'll then see that that point shows up in my web map, back in my browser. And that was just the poll. So in addition to that, I can add the sign. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, guys, I'm finished with my demo. I just wanted to leave you with a call to action to give it a shot and to deploy one of these solutions in your WebGIS. And I know there's a learning curve. You can start small, right? And to get the hang of it and start with the low hanging fruit. I really think that you'll find that the capabilities we talked about, especially collaboration and data sharing and the field mobility piece, you'll find will save you time and resources. Remember that the tools are designed to be user-friendly and that you have support from Esri. I'm going to be launching a poll next, and after that poll, I'll be handing it over to Justin to talk about learning resources that you guys have available to you. So with that, I'm going to launch this poll. And this one is asking, which of the following areas would you like to hear more about? Or in other words, which of the following areas are you most interested in moving forward with? And I'll give that a few seconds. I see some votes coming in. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Thank you guys for participating in that poll. And now I'm going to share back the results. And we can see that 70% of you are interested in learning more about maintaining facilities. That's interesting. And then 60% at maintaining road networks and 43% at responding to emergencies. That's really valuable information for us to see. Appreciate your participation. And with that, good luck. Best of luck to you guys all. Thanks very much. And I'll hand it over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Shelby. Yeah, thanks for that overview to see the wealth of solutions that are really at our fingertips for public works. I wanted to start with why I'm here. So I believe a highly engaged workforce is one of the keys to getting the most value out of your investment in our technology and our platform. And as your training consultant, I collaborate with tribes across the nation to develop strategic training plans that really accelerate adoption and overall utilization of our platform. So in these last few minutes, I want to share a powerful concept as well as highlight 2 instructor-led resources to enable you to be successful in modernizing your public works. So that's why I'm here. Why are you here? I hope it's because you want to transform your public works workflows with new solutions, and really a critical component of that modernization, really any sort of digital transformation, is making sure that your people are on board with that change. And I think on a personal level, it really starts with discovery like this, understanding how to fully leverage all of the tools that are available in the ArcGIS toolbox. On an organizational level, the next step is championing that change and influencing adoption among other users within not only public works, but other departments that you interact with. So I see a key challenge then as a leader in your organization is how do you position the benefits of your system, of this technology, these solutions, to a new audience of users that may have never engaged with GIS before. And I see leading change as one of the primary challenges, but also an incredible opportunity for you to take within your organization. And the question that I have is, are you evangelizing the value of GIS specifically by translating the benefits of this technology to specific users in a way that resonates with their departmental workflows? I think we talk a lot about technology, we talk a lot about the features, but we don't usually translate that in a way that's relatable to these users in the form of benefits. So in a second, we'll get to what's the difference between a feature and a benefit. And are you speaking in the language of features or of benefits? So let's rewind back to the fall of 2001. I'm already feeling older, when MP3 players were just getting popular. I can't believe it's already 20 years ago. But why did some MP3 players take off and others fail? And why do we equate an iPod? We pretty much say an iPod instead of an MP3 player. The reason being, I think Apple nailed their communication and their marketing around benefits. So if you remember back to some of the original commercials, how did they position the value of the iPod? They could have talked a lot about the features, that there's an incredible amount of storage for all of your songs. There's this continuous circular click wheel to navigate through your playlists and everything. And there's a battery life of over 12 hours at a time. That sounds great, but those are just what the technology does, not necessarily what it means to you practically. I think the way Apple sold millions of iPods in that first year is because they shared the benefits in a way that instantly resonated with the audience. The iPod is thousands of songs in your pocket. For the first time, you can take your favorite songs, your favorite playlists, your favorite bands with you wherever you go. So you may be thinking, that sounds great, Justin, but what in the world does this all have to do with training? I really see training as a key strategy to getting the most value from your investment in GIS. It's a way for you to modernize your workflows within your organization, and it's a way for you to influence new users to adopt this technology. And I wanted to highlight 2 instructor-led resources that will help you do that. And to read more and to register for these courses, you can access the URL at the bottom, the goesri.com and / the rest for this course and another one in a second. So we could talk about the features of the course, how you're going to learn all sorts of stuff about web apps, generating work assignments, but I want to talk about the benefits. What is this going to mean to your organization? Well, number one, it's going to reduce inefficiencies by taking a manual paper-based workflow, show you how to digitize that with apps that you already have access to. Secondly, it's going to help you improve overall decision-making by connecting what's happening in the field and an operational picture for those that are managing the process back in the office. And finally, the goal is to ensure that everyone has the same operational picture in a way that reduces errors, boosts productivity, and overall saves money to the organization. I want to share an example of an organization I was working with in city government. They recently took this course, and the challenge they were encountering was they had field staff that had to do routine fire hydrant flushings. And up to the point, they were using pen and paper to do this process. They had mobile technology that they weren't accessing because the field staff didn't really see the value of doing that. So a GIS technician within the Public Works Department, he took that field data collection course, and one of his key takeaways was, hey, I can deploy a collector solution right off the shelf, and I can also visualize what's happening with an operations dashboard. I can feed that information to some of the supervisors in the office and make sure that we get a better picture of how often these flushings are happening, who's leading the way, where could we see more efficiency. And nearly a month later, they're seeing they've reduced pen and paper entirely. There's no more trying to decipher someone else's chicken scratch handwriting and enter that back into the system. And they have that near real-time connectivity for supervisors to manage. And they can see that they've unlocked over 25% productivity already just by implementing this single solution for this workflow. The final course I wanted to highlight, Shelby talked a lot about web apps and how easy they are to configure and utilize. We have a one-day instructor-led course around getting up and running with these web apps, specifically using Web App Builder. So again, you're going to learn a lot about how to use that to target a specific design based on the audience, but what that's going to mean is you are going to leave the course being able to create these really nice configured custom looking applications without having to write a single line of code. And you're saving time by leveraging these solutions off the shelf that are already integrated tightly into ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. It's part of the ecosystem. It's not a separate product. And you can learn more about that course at goesri.com and that Tribal 3 FIDA link. So again, I share these resources because they're designed for you to master these concepts, really apply them immediately, modernize the workflows, and achieve more productivity for what's happening in your different departments, and lead and influence that change within your organization. I've got my contact information here on the slide. I'm here to work with you to share more about these courses, as well as build a customized training plan to modernize different workflows within your organization. And with that, I will hand it back to Tasha.
Okay. Well, we'd like to thank Shelby and Justin very much for their presentations, and we may have time for just one quick question. But before that, I would like to remind everybody to register for the upcoming September 27th webinar titled Responding to Emergencies Swiftly and Safely. And you can access any previously recorded webinar in this series by visiting go.esri.com/2018-TribalPW. There was a question that we had about access to the PowerPoint following this presentation. We're going to make access to the recording available and any links that were provided within today's presentation. So we won't share the actual slides, but you will get a link to the recording, and the recording is going to be available in about 7 business days. So actually, no, I have a message here. Go.esri.com/tribalwebapps link will be provided immediately after the webinar. Okay, so that was a message that I just received. That link again is go.esri.com/tribalwebapps. Since we are a minute over time, we're not going to be able to handle any questions now, but we are going to gather them, and we will send responses to all of the registered attendees that were registered for today's session. So we want to thank you very much for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you on September 27th for the next webinar in our series. Again, thanks very much for your time.